A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. The action takes place in the Helmers' apartment, a comfortably and tastefully but not expensively furnished room. A bell rings in the hall outside. After a moment we hear the front door being opened. Nora enters the room, humming contentedly to herself. She is wearing an outdoor coat and carrying lots of parcels, which she puts down on the table right. She leaves the door to the hall open. Through it we can see the porter carrying a Christmas tree and a basket. He gives these to the maid who has opened the door for him.
Hide that Christmas tree away, Helen. The children mustn't see it before I've decorated it this evening. How much?
A shilling.
Here's 10 shillings. No, keep it.
The porter touches his cap and goes. Nora closes the door. She continues to laugh happily to herself as she removes her coat, takes from her pocket a bag containing macaroons and eats a couple. Then she tiptoes across and listens at her husband's door.
Yes, he's here.
Is that my skylark twittering out there?
It is.
Is that my squirrel rustling?
Yes.
When did my squirrel come home?
Just now. Come out here, Torvald, and see what I've bought.
You mustn't disturb me.
He opens the door and looks in, his pen in his hand.
Bought, did you say? All that? Has my little squander bird been overspending again?
Oh, Torvald, surely we can let ourselves go a little this year. It's the first Christmas we don't have to scrape.
Well, you know, we can't afford to be extravagant.
Oh, yes, Torvald, we can be a little extravagant now, can't we? Just a tiny bit. You've got a big salary now, and you're going to make lots and lots of money.
Next year, yes. But my new salary doesn't start till April.
Oh, pooh. We can borrow till then.
Nora, what a little spendthrift you are. Suppose I were to borrow £50 today and you spent it all over Christmas, and then on New Year's Eve, a tile fell off the roof onto my head.
Oh, Torvald, don't say such dreadful things.
Yes, but suppose something like that did happen. What then?
If anything as frightful as that happened, it wouldn't make much difference whether I was in debt or not.
But what about the people I'd borrowed from?
Them? Who cares about them? They're strangers.
Oh, Nora, Nora, how like a woman. No, but seriously, Nora, you know how I feel about this. No debts, never borrow. A home that is founded on debts and borrowing can never be a place of freedom and beauty. We too have stuck it out bravely up to now, and we shall continue to do so for the next few weeks that remain.
Very well, Torvald. As you say.
Now, my little songbird mustn't droop her wings. What's this? Is little squirrel sulking? Nora, guess what I've got here?
Money?
Look, I know how all these small expenses crop up at Christmas.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, thank you, Torvald, thank you. I should be able to manage with this.
You'll have to.
Yes, of course I will. But come over here. I want to show you everything I've bought. And so cheap. Look, here are new clothes for Ivor. Oh, and a sword, and a horse, and a trumpet for Bob, and a doll, and a cradle for Emmy. Oh, they're nothing much, but she'll pull them apart in a few days. And some bits of material and handkerchiefs for the maids. Oh, old Annie Marie ought to have had something better, really.
And what's in that parcel?
No! Torvald, you mustn't see that before this evening.
Very well. But now tell me, my little spendthrift, what do you want for Christmas?
Me? Oh, Pooh, I don't want anything.
Oh, yes, you do. Now tell me, what within reason would you most like?
No, I really don't know. Oh, yes, Torvald,
Well,
if you really want to give me something, you could. You could.
oh, come on, out with it.
You could give me money, Torvald, only as much as you feel you can afford, and then later I'll buy something with it.
But Nora,
Oh, yes, Torvald dear, please, please, then I'll wrap up the notes in pretty gold paper and hang them on the Christmas tree. Wouldn't that be fun?
what's the name of that little bird that can never keep any money?
Yes,
Hmm?
yes, squander bird, I know, but let's do as I say, Torvald, and then I'll have time to think about what I need most. Isn't that the best way?
To be sure, it would be. If you could keep what I give you and really buy yourself something with it. But you'll spend it on all sorts of useless things for the house, and then I'll have to put my hand in my pocket again.
Oh, but Torvald.
You can't deny it, Nora dear. The squander bird's a pretty little creature, but she gets through an awful lot of money. It's incredible what an expensive pet she is for a man to keep.
For shame! How can you say such a thing? I save every penny I can.
Yes, that's quite true. Every penny you can, but you can't.
Hmm. If you only knew how many expenses we larks and squirrels have, Torvald.
You're a funny little creature, just like your father used to be. Always on the lookout for some way to get money. But as soon as you have any of it, it just runs through your fingers, and you never know where it's gone. Well, I suppose I must take you as you are. It's in your blood. Yes, yes, yes. These things are hereditary, Nora.
Oh, I wish I'd inherited more of Papa's qualities.
And I wouldn't wish my darling little songbird to be any different from what she is. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. You look awfully, how shall I put it? Awfully guilty today.
Do I?
Yes, you do. Look me in the eyes.
Well,
Has my little sweet tooth been indulging herself in town today by any chance?
no. How can you think such a thing?
Not a tiny little digression into a pastry shop?
No, Torvald, I promise.
Not just a wee jam tart?
Certainly not.
Not a little nibble at a macaroon?
No, Torvald. I promise you, honestly.
There, there. I was only joking.
You know, I could never act against your wishes.
Of course not. And you've given me your word. Well, my beloved Nora, you keep your little Christmas secrets to yourself. They'll be revealed this evening, I've no doubt. Once the Christmas tree has been lit.
Have you remembered to invite Dr. Rank?
No, but there's no need. He knows he'll be dining with us. Anyway, I'll ask him when he comes this morning. I've ordered some good wine. Oh, Nora, you can't imagine how I'm looking forward to this evening.
So am I. And Torvald, how the children will love it.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing to know that one's position is assured and that one has an ample income. Did you agree? It's good to know that, isn't it?
Yes, it's almost like a miracle.
Do you remember last Christmas? For 3 whole weeks, you shut yourself away every evening to make flowers for the Christmas tree. And all those other things you were going to surprise us with. Ugh, it was the most boring time I've ever had in my life.
I didn't find it boring.
But it all came to nothing in the end, didn't it?
Oh, are you going to bring that up again? How could I help the cats getting in and tearing everything to bits?
No, my poor little Nora, of course you couldn't. You simply wanted to make us happy, and that's all that matters. But it's good that those hard times are past.
Yes, it's wonderful.
I don't have to sit by myself and be bored, and you don't have to tie your pretty little eyes and your delicate little hands.
No, Torvald, that's true, isn't it? I don't have to any longer. Oh, it's really all just like a miracle. Now I'm going to tell you what I thought we might do, Torvald, as soon as Christmas is over. Oh, there's the doorbell.
Tidies up one or two things in the room.
Someone's coming. What a bore.
I'm not at home to any visitors, remember.
Ladies called, madam, a stranger.
Oh, well, ask her to come in.
And the doctor's here too, sir.
Has he gone to my room?
Yes, sir.
Helmer goes into his room. The maid shows in Mrs. Lind, who is dressed in travelling clothes, then closes the door.
Good morning, Nora.
Good morning.
I don't suppose you'll recognise me.
No, I'm afraid I... Yes, wait a minute. Surely I... Why, Christine! Is it really you?
Yes, it's me.
Christine! Oh, I didn't recognise you. Oh, but how could I? How you've changed, Christine.
Yes, I know. It's been 9 years, nearly 10.
Oh, is it so long? Well, yes, it must be. Oh, these last 8 years have been such a happy time for me. So, you've come to town? All that way in winter? Oh, how brave of you.
I arrived by the steamer this morning.
Yes, of course. To enjoy yourself over Christmas. Oh, how splendid. We'll have to celebrate. But take off your coat. You're not cold, are you? There. Now, let's sit down here by the stove and be comfortable. No, you take the armchair. I'll sit here in the rocking chair. Oh, yes. Now you look like your old self. Just at first, you've got a little paler, though, Christine, and perhaps a bit thinner.
And older, Nora. Much, much older.
Yes, perhaps a little older, just a tiny bit, not much. Oh, but how thoughtless of me to sit here and chatter away like this. Dear, sweet Christine, can you forgive me?
What do you mean, Nora?
Oh, poor Christine. You've become a widow.
Yes, 3 years ago.
Oh, I know. I know. I read it in the papers. Oh, Christine, I meant to write to you so often, honestly, but I always put it off, and something else cropped up.
I understand, Nora dear.
No, Christine, it was beastly of me. Oh, my poor darling, what you've gone through. And he didn't leave you anything.
No,
No children either.
no,
Nothing at all then.
not even a feeling of loss or sorrow.
But Christine, how is that possible?
Oh, these things happen, Nora.
All alone? How dreadful that must be for you. I've 3 lovely children. I'm afraid you can't see them now because they're out with Nanny, but you must tell me everything.
No, no, no. I want to hear about you.
Oh, no, you start. I'm going to be selfish today. I'm just going to think about you. Oh, but there's one thing I must tell you. Have you heard of the wonderful luck we've just had?
No, what?
Would you believe it? My husband's just been made vice president of the bank.
Your husband? Oh, how lucky.
Yes, isn't it? Being a lawyer is so uncertain, especially if one isn't prepared to touch any case that isn't, well, quite nice. And of course, Torvald's been very firm about that, and I'm absolutely with him. Oh, you can imagine how happy we are. He's joining the bank in the new year and he'll be getting a big salary and lots of percentages too. From now on, we'll be able to live quite differently. Oh, we'll be able to do whatever we want. Oh, Christine, such a relief. I feel so happy. Well, I mean, it's lovely to have heaps of money and not have to think about anything, don't you think?
Well, it must be lovely to have enough to cover one's needs anyway.
Oh, not just our needs. We're going to have heaps and heaps of money.
Nora, haven't you grown up yet? When we were at school, you were a terrible little spendthrift.
Yes, Torvald still says that. But Nora isn't as silly as you think. Oh, we've been in no position for me to waste money. We've both had to work.
You too?
Yes, little things, fancy work, crocheting, embroidery, and so forth. And other things too. I suppose you know Torvald left the ministry when we got married. There were no prospects of promotion in his department, and of course he needed more money. But the first year he overworked himself dreadfully. He had to take on all sorts of extra jobs and work day and night. But it was too much for him, and he became frightfully ill. The doctor said he'd have to go to a warmer climate.
Yes, you spent a whole year in Italy, didn't you?
Yes, it wasn't easy for me to get away, you know. I'd just had Ivor, but of course we had to do it. Oh, and it was a marvellous trip. And it saved Torvald's life. But it cost an awful lot of money, Christine.
I can imagine.
£250. But that's a lot of money, you know.
How lucky you had it.
Well, actually, we got it from my father.
Oh, I see. Didn't he die just about that time?
Yes, Christine, just about then. Oh, wasn't it dreadful? I couldn't go and look after him. I was expecting little Ivor any day, and when I had my poor Torvald to care for, we really didn't think he'd live. Dear, kind Papa. I never saw him again. Oh, Christine. Oh, it's the saddest thing that's happened to me since I got married.
I know you were very fond of him, but you went to Italy.
Yes. Well, we had the money, you see, and the doctor said we mustn't delay, so we went the month after Papa died.
And your husband came back completely cured.
Fit as a fiddle.
But the doctor?
How do you mean?
I thought the maid said that the gentleman who arrived with me was the doctor.
Oh, yes, that's Dr. Rank. But he doesn't come because anyone's ill. He's our best friend, and he looks us up at least once every day. No, Torvald hasn't had a moment's illness since we went away. And the children are fit and healthy, and so am I. Oh, God. Oh, God, Christine. Isn't it a wonderful thing to be alive and happy? Oh, but how beastly of me. I'm only talking about myself. Oh, please don't be angry with me. Tell me, is it really true you didn't love your husband? Why did you marry him then?
Well, my mother was still alive and she was helpless and bedridden. And I had my two little brothers to take care of. I didn't feel like I could say no.
Yes. Well, perhaps you're right. He was rich then, was he?
Quite comfortably off, I believe. But his business wasn't sound, you see, Nora. When he died, it went bankrupt and there was nothing left.
What did you do?
Well, I had to try and make ends meet somehow, so I started a little shop and a little school and anything else I could turn my hand to. These last 3 years have been just one endless slog for me without a moment's rest. But now it's over, Nora. My poor dead mother doesn't need me anymore. She passed away. And the boys don't need me either. They've got jobs now and can look after themselves.
Oh, how relieved you must feel.
No, Nora, just unspeakably empty. No one to live for anymore. That's why I couldn't bear to stay out there any longer, cut off from the world. I thought it'd be easy to find some work here that will exercise and occupy my mind. If only I could get a regular job, office work of some kind.
Oh, but Christine, that's dreadfully exhausting. And you look practically finished already. That was a big picture. It'd be much better for you if you could go away somewhere.
I have no papa to pay for my holidays, Nora.
Oh, please don't be angry with me.
My dear Nora, it's I who should ask you not to be angry. That's the worst thing about this kind of situation. It makes one so bitter. One has no one to work for, and yet one has to be continually sponging for jobs. One has to live, and so one becomes completely egocentric. When you told me about this luck you've just had with Torvald's new job, can you imagine? I was happy not so much on your account as on my own.
How do you mean? Oh, I understand. You mean Torvald might be able to do something for you?
Yes, I was thinking that.
He will too, Christine. Just you leave it to me. I'll lead up to it so delicately. So delicately, I'll get him in the right mood. Oh, Christine, I do so want to help you.
It's sweet of you to bother me so much, Nora, especially since you know so little of the worries and hardships of life.
You say I know little of...
Well, good heavens, those bits of fancy work of yours? Well, really, you're a child, Nora.
You shouldn't say that so patronisingly.
Oh?
You're like the rest. You all think I'm incapable of getting down to anything serious.
My dear.
You think I've never had any worries like the rest of you?
Nora, dear, you've just told me about all your difficulties.
Oh, that? I haven't told you about the big thing.
What big thing? What do you mean?
You patronising me, Christine, but you shouldn't. You're proud that you've worked so long and so hard for your mother.
I don't patronise anyone, Nora, but you are right. I am both proud and happy that I was able to make my mother's last months on earth comparatively easy.
And you're also proud of what you've done for your brothers.
I think I have a right to be.
I think so too. But let me tell you something, Christine. I too have done something to be proud and happy about.
I don't doubt it, but how do you mean?
Speak quietly. Suppose Torvald should hear. He mustn't. At any price. No one must know, Christine. No one but you.
But what is this?
Come over here. Yes, Christine. I too have done something to be happy and proud about. It was I who saved Torvald's life.
Saved his... How did you save it?
I told you about our trip to Italy. Well, Torvald couldn't have lived if he hadn't managed to get down there.
Yes, well, your father provided the money.
So Torvald and everyone else thinks. But
Yes?
Papa didn't give us a penny. It was I who found the money.
You? All of it?
£250. What do you say to that?
But Nora, how could you? Did you win a lottery or something?
Lottery. What would there be to be proud of in that?
But where did you get it from then?
Tra-la-la-la-la.
You couldn't have borrowed it?
Oh, why not?
Well, a wife can't borrow money without her husband's consent.
Ah, but when a wife has a little business sense and knows how to be clever...
But Nora, I simply don't understand.
You don't have to. No one has said I borrowed the money. I could have got it in some other way. I could have got it from an admirer. When a girl's as pretty as I am...
Nora, you're crazy.
You're dying of curiosity now, aren't you, Christine?
Nora, dear, you haven't done anything foolish.
Is it foolish to save one's husband's life?
I think it's foolish if without his knowledge you...
But the whole point was that he mustn't know. Great heavens, don't you see? He hadn't to know how dangerously ill he was. It was me they told that his life was in danger and that only going to a warm climate could save him. Do you suppose I didn't try to think of other ways of getting him down there? I told him how wonderful it would be for me to go abroad like other young wives. I cried and prayed. I asked him to remember my condition and said he ought to be nice and tender to me. And when I suggested he might quite easily borrow the money, but then he got almost angry with me, Christine. He said I was frivolous and that it was his duty as a husband not to pander to my moods and caprices. Well, that's what he called them. Well, I thought, you've got to be saved somehow, and I thought of a way.
But didn't your husband find out from your father that the money hadn't come from him?
No, Papa died just then. I'd thought of letting him into the plot and asking him not to tell, but since he was so ill, and as things turned out, it didn't become necessary.
And you've never told your husband about this?
For heaven's sake, no. What an idea. He's frightfully strict about such matters, and besides, he's so proud of being a man. It'd be painful and humiliating for him to know that he owed anything to me. It'd completely wreck our relationship. This life we've built together would no longer exist.
Will you never tell him?
Yes, sometime, perhaps. Years from now when I'm no longer pretty. But you mustn't laugh. I mean, of course, when Torvald no longer loves me as he does now, then when it no longer amuses him to see me dance and dress up and play the fool for him, then it might be useful to have something up my sleeve. Stupid. Stupid, that time will never come. Well, what do you think about my big secret, Christine? I'm not completely useless, am I? Mind you, all this has caused me a frightful lot of worry. It hasn't been easy for me to meet my obligations punctually. In case you don't know, in the world of business, there are things called quarterly installments and interest, and they're a terrible problem to cope with, so I've had to scrape a little here and save a little there as best I can. I haven't been able to save much on the housekeeping money because Torvald likes to live well, and I couldn't let the children go short of clothes. I couldn't take anything out of what he gives me for them, poor little angels.
So you've had to stint yourself, my poor Nora.
Of course. Well, after all, it was my problem. Whenever Torvald gave me money to buy myself new clothes, I always used more than half of it, and I always bought what was cheapest and plainest, thank heaven, and anything suits me so that Torvald never noticed. But it's made me a bit sad sometimes, because it's lovely to wear pretty clothes, don't you think?
Indeed, it is.
And then I've found one or two other sources of income. Last winter, I managed to get a lot of copying to do, so I shut myself away and wrote every evening, late into the night. Oh, I often got so tired, but it was great fun, though, sitting there, working and earning money. It was almost like being a man.
But how much have you managed to pay off like this?
Well, I can't say exactly. It's awfully difficult to keep an exact check on these kinds of transactions. I only know I've paid everything I've managed to scrape together. Sometimes I really didn't know where to turn. Then I'd sit here and imagine some rich old gentleman had fallen in love with me.
What? What gentleman?
Oh, silly. And now that he'd died, and when they opened his will, and it said in big letters, everything I possess is to be paid forthwith to my beloved Mrs. Nora Helmer in cash.
But Nora dear, who was this gentleman?
Great heavens, don't you understand? There wasn't any old gentleman. It was just something I used to dream up as I sat here evening after evening. wondering how on earth I could raise some money. But what does it matter? The old bore can stay imaginary as far as I'm concerned, because now I don't have to worry any longer. Oh, Christine, isn't it wonderful? I don't have to worry anymore. No more troubles. Oh, I can play all day with the children. I can fill the house with pretty things just the way Torvald likes. And Christine, soon it'll be spring, and the air will be fresh and the skies blue, and then perhaps we'll be able to take a little trip somewhere. I shall be able to see the sea again. Oh, yes, yes, it's a wonderful thing to be alive and happy.
You've a visitor. Perhaps I'd better go.
Oh no, stay. It wouldn't be for me. It's someone for Torvald.
Keza?
Sorry. Excuse me, madam.
It's still you. A gentleman's called.
Sorry, my page jumped when I was.
You're the bottom of one column and then the top of the next. So if we start with no stay. Nora.
We're going to say that a gentleman, he called about the house, were you? Sorry, wrong click.
No.
Ready? Are you ready, Sarah?
Ready?
Yes, sorry.
Excuse me, madam.
Excuse me, madam. A gentleman's called who says he wants to speak to the master, but I didn't know, seeing as the doctor's with him.
Who is this gentleman?
Me, Mrs. Helmer.
Mrs. Lynde starts, composes herself, and turns away to the window.
You? What is it? What do you want to talk to my husband about?
Might call it. I hold a minor post in the bank, and I hear your husband is to become our new chief.
Oh. Then it isn't.
Your business, Mrs. Helmer. Nothing more.
Oh, well, you'll find him in his study.
Nods indifferently as she closes the hall door behind him. Then she walks across the room and sees to the stove.
Nora, who was that man?
A lawyer called Krogstad.
It was him then.
Do you know that man?
I used to know him. Some years ago, he was a solicitor's clerk in our town for a while.
Oh, yes, of course, so he was.
How he's changed.
Oh, he was very unhappily married, I believe.
Is he a widower now?
Yes, with a lot of children. Now it's a light.
She closes the door of the stove and moves to the rocking chair a little to one side.
He does various things now, I hear.
Does he? It's quite possible. I really don't know. But let's talk about business. It's so boring.
Dr. Rank enters from Helmer's study.
No, my dear chap, don't see me out. I'll go and have a word with your wife. Oh, I beg your pardon. I seem to be de trop here too.
Not in the least. Dr. Rank, Mrs. Lynde.
Ah, a name I've often heard in this house. I believe I passed you on those stairs as I came up.
Yes, stairs tie me. I have to take them slowly.
Oh, have you hurt yourself?
No, I'm just a little run down.
Ah, is that all? Then I take it you've come to town to cure yourself by a round of parties.
I've come here to find work.
Is that an improved remedy for being run down?
One has to live, Doctor.
Yes, people do seem to regard it as a necessity.
Oh, really? Dr. Rank. I bet you want to stay alive.
You bet I do. However wretched I sometimes feel, I still want to go on being tortured for as long as possible. It's the same with all my patients and with people who are morally sick too. There's a moral cripple in with Hilmer at this moment.
Oh,
Whom do you mean?
Oh, a lawyer fellow called Krogan. You would know him. He's crippled, all right, morally twisted. Even he started off by announcing as though it were a matter of enormous importance that he had to live.
Oh, what did he want to talk to Torvald about?
Haven't the faintest idea. All I heard was something about the bank.
Oh, I didn't know that this man, Krogstad, had any connection with the bank.
Yes, he's got some kind of job down there. I wonder if in your part of the world you too have a species of creatures that spends its time fussing around trying to smell out moral corruption. And when they find a case, they give him some nice, comfortable position so that they can keep a good watch on him. The healthy ones, they just have to lump it.
but surely it's the sick who need care most.
Well, there we have it. It's the attitude that's running human society into a hospital. Why are you laughing? Do you really know what society is?
What do I care about society? I think it's a bore. I was laughing at something else, something frightfully funny. Tell me, Dr. Rank, will everyone who works at the bank come under Torvald now?
You find that particularly funny?
Never you mind. Never you mind. Yes, I find it very amusing to think that Torvald has obtained so much influence over so many people. Oh, Dr. Rank, would you like a small macaroon?
Macaroons, I say. I thought they were forbidden here.
Yes, well, these are some Christine gave me.
What?
All right, don't get frightened. You weren't to know Torvald had forbidden them. He's afraid they'll ruin my teeth, but dash it, for once. Don't you agree, Dr. Rank? Here. You too, Christine, and I'll have one. Just a little one. 2 at the most. Yes, now I feel really, really happy. Now there's just one thing in the world I'd love to do.
Oh, and what is that?
Just something I'd love to say to Torvald.
Well, why don't you say it?
Oh no, I daren't. It's too dreadful.
Dreadful?
Well then, better not. But you could say it to us. What is it you'd so love to say to Torvald?
I've the most extraordinary longing to say, bloody hell!
Are you mad?
My dear Nora.
Say it. Here he is.
Hiding the bag of macaroons. Helmer, with his overcoat on his arm and his hat in his hand, enters from his study.
Well, Torvald, dear, did you get rid of him?
Yes, he's just gone.
Oh, may I introduce you? This is Christine. She's just arrived in town.
Christine. Forgive me, but I don't think...
Mrs. Lind, Torvald, dear. Christine Lind.
Ah, a childhood friend of my wife's, I presume.
Yes, we knew each other in school. Sorry, I've lost it.
In the early days.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've lost it. Sorry, hang on, guys.
Page 14, somewhere in the middle.
Yes, we knew each other in earlier days.
And imagine, now she's travelled all this way to talk to you.
Oh?
Well, I didn't really.
You see, Christine's frightfully good at office work and she's mad to come under some really clever man who can teach her even more than she knows already.
Very sensible, madam.
So, when she heard you'd become head of the bank, it was in her local paper. She came here as quickly as she could, and Torvald, you will, won't you? Do a little something to help Christine. Well, for my sake.
Well, that shouldn't be impossible. You are a widow, I take it, Mrs. Lind.
Yes,
And you have experience of office work?
yes, quite a bit.
Well then, it's quite likely I may be able to find some job for you.
Oh, you see? You see?
You've come at a lucky moment, Mrs. Lind.
Oh, how can I ever thank you?
There's absolutely no need. But now I'm afraid I must ask you to excuse me.
Wait, I'll come with you.
He gets his fur coat from the hall and warms it at the stove.
Don't be long, Torvald, dear.
I'll only be an hour.
Are you going too, Christine?
Yes, I must stop to look around for a room.
Then perhaps we can walk part of the way together.
Oh, it's such a nuisance. We're so cramped here. I'm afraid we can't offer to...
Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. Goodbye, Nora dear, and thanks for everything.
Au revoir. You'll be coming back this evening, of course. And you too, Dr. Rank. What? If you're well enough, of course. Oh, you'll be well enough. Wrap up warmly, though.
They go out talking into the hall. Children's voices are heard from the stairs.
Here they are. Here they are.
Runs out and opens the door. The nurse, Anne-Marie, enters with the children.
Oh, come in, come in. Oh, my sweet darlings. Look at them. Christine, aren't they beautiful?
Don't stand here chattering in this draught.
Come, Mrs. Lind. This is for mothers only.
Dr. Rank, Helmer, and Mrs. Lind go down the stairs. The nurse brings the children into the room. Nora follows and closes the door to the hall.
How well you look. What red cheeks you've got. Like apples and roses.
The children answer her inaudibly as she talks to them.
Have you had fun? Well, that's splendid. You gave Emmy and Bob a ride on the sledge. What, both together? I say, what a clever boy you are, Ivor. Oh, well, let me hold her for a moment. Anne-Marie, my sweet little baby doll.
She takes the smallest child from the nurse and dances with her.
Yes, yes, Mummy will dance with Bob too. What? Have you been throwing snowballs? Oh, I wish I'd been there. No, don't. I'll undress them myself. Anne-Marie, no, please let me. Oh, it's such fun. Go inside and warm yourself. You look frozen. There's some hot coffee on the stove.
The nurse goes into the room stage left. Nora takes off the children's outdoor clothes and throws them anywhere while they chatter simultaneously.
What? A big dog ran after you. But he didn't bite you. No, dogs don't bite lovely little baby dolls. Oh, leave those parcels alone, Ivor. What's in them? Wouldn't you like to know? No, it's nothing nice. Come on, let's play a game. What shall we play? Hide and seek. Yes, let's play hide and seek. Bob shall hide first. You want me to? All right, let me hide first.
Nora and the children play around the room, and in the adjacent room to the right, laughing and shouting. At length, Nora hides under the table. The children rush in, look, but cannot find her. Then they hear the half-stifled laughter. Run to the table, lift up the cloth and see her. Great excitement. She crawls out as though to frighten them. Further excitement. Meanwhile, there has been a knock on the door leading from the hall, but no one has noticed it. Now the door is half opened and Krogstad enters. He waits for a moment, but the game continues.
Mrs. Helmer?
What do you want?
I beg your pardon. The front door was ajar. Someone must have forgotten to close it.
Oh, my husband is not at home, Mr. Krogstad.
I know.
Well, what do you want here then?
A word with you.
With... Go inside to Anne-Marie. What? No, the strange gentleman won't do anything to hurt Mummy. When he's gone, we'll start playing again.
She takes the children into the room at stage left and closes the door behind them.
You want to speak to me?
Yes.
Today? But it's not the 1st of the month yet.
No. No, it is Christmas Eve. Whether or not you have a Merry Christmas Eve depends on you.
What do you want? I can't give you anything today.
We won't talk about that for the present. There's something else. You have a moment to spare?
Oh, yes. Yes, I suppose so. Though...
Good. Yes, I was sitting in the cafe down below and I saw your husband cross the street.
Yes?
With a lady.
Well?
Might I be so bold as to ask? Was not that lady a Mrs. Lind?
Yes.
Recently arrived in town?
Yes, today.
She's a good friend of yours, is she not?
Yes, she is. But I don't see...
know her too. Once.
I know.
Oh. You've discovered that. Yes, I thought you would. Well then, may I ask you a straight question? Is Mrs. Lind to be employed at the bank?
How dare you to presume to cross-examine me, Mr. Krogstad? You, one of my husband's employees, but since you ask, you shall have an answer. Yes, Mrs. Lind is to be employed by the bank, and I arranged it. Mr. Krogstad, now you know.
I guessed right then.
Oh, one has a little influence, you know. Just because one's a woman, it doesn't necessarily mean that when one is in a humble position, Mr. Krogstad, one shouldn't think twice before offending someone who
has influence?
Precisely.
Mrs. Helmer, will you have the kindness to use your influence on my behalf?
What? What do you mean?
Will you be so good as to see that I keep my humble position at the bank?
What do you mean? Who is thinking of removing you from your position?
Oh, you don't need to play the innocent with me. I realize it can't be very pleasant for your friend to risk bumping into me. And now I also realize whom I have to thank for being hounded out like this.
But I assure you...
Look, let's not beat around the bush. There's still time. And I'd advise you to use your influence to stop it.
But, Mr. Krogstad, I have no influence.
Oh? Well, I thought you just said...
But I didn't mean it like that. How on earth could you imagine that I would have any influence over my husband?
Well, I've known your husband since we were students together. I imagine he has his weaknesses like any other married men.
If you speak impertinently of my husband, I shall show you the door.
You're a bold woman, Mrs. Helmer.
I'm not afraid of you any longer. Once the new year is in, I'll soon be rid of you.
Now listen to me, Mrs. Helmer. If I am forced to, I shall fight for my little job at the bank as I would fight for my life.
So it sounds.
It isn't just the money. That's the last thing I care about. There's something else. Well, You might as well know. It's like this, you see. You know, of course, as everyone else does, that some years ago I committed an indiscretion.
I think I did hear something.
Never came into court, but from that day, every opening was barred to me. So I turned my hand to the kind of business you know about. I had to do something, and I don't think I was one of the worst, but now I want to give up all that. My sons are growing up for their sake. I must try to regain what respectability I can. This job in the bank was the first step on that ladder, and now your husband wants to kick me off that ladder back into the dirt.
But, my dear Mr. Krogstad, it simply isn't in my power to help you.
You say that because you don't want to help me, but I have the means to make you.
You don't mean you'd tell my husband that I owe you money?
And if I did?
That would be a filthy trick. This secret that has my pride and my joy, that he should hear about it in such a filthy, beastly way, hear about it from you. It'd involve me in the most dreadful unpleasantness.
Only unpleasantness.
All right, do it. You'll be the one who'll suffer. It'll show my husband the kind of man you are, and then you'll never keep your job.
I asked you whether it was merely domestic unpleasantness you were afraid of.
If my husband hears about it, he will of course immediately pay you whatever is owing, and then we shall have nothing more to do with you.
Listen, Mrs. Helmer, either you've a bad memory, or else you know very little about financial transactions. I had better enlighten you.
What do you mean?
Well, when your husband was ill, you came to me to borrow £250.
I didn't know anyone else.
I promised to find that sum for you.
And you did find it?
I promised to find that sum for you on certain conditions. You were so worried about your husband's illness and so keen to get the money to take him abroad that I don't think you bothered much about the details. So it wouldn't be out of place if I were to refresh your memory. Well, I promised to get you the money in exchange for an IOU, which I drew up.
Yes, and which I signed.
Exactly. But then I added a few lines naming your father as security for the debt. This paragraph was to be signed by your father.
Was it to be? He did sign it.
I left the date blank for your father to fill in when he signed this paper. You remember, Mrs. Helmer?
Yes, I think so.
Then I gave you back this IOU for you to post to your father. Is that not correct?
Yes.
And of course you posted it at once. For within 4 or 5 days, you brought it along to me with your father's signature on it, whereupon I handed you the money.
Yes. Well, haven't I repaid the installments as agreed?
Yes, more or less. But to return to what we were speaking about, that was a difficult time for you just then, wasn't it, Mrs. Helmer?
Yes, it was.
Your father was very ill, if I'm not mistaken.
He was dying.
He did, in fact, die shortly thereafter.
Yes.
Tell me, Mrs. Helmer, do you by any chance remember the date of your father's death? The day of the month, I mean.
Papa died on the 29th of September.
Quite correct. I took the trouble to confirm it. And that leaves me with a curious little problem, which I simply cannot solve.
Problem? I don't see.
problem, Mrs. Helmer, is that your father signed this paper 3 days after his death.
What? I don't understand.
Your father died on the 29th of September, but look at this. Here, your father has dated his signature the 2nd of October. Isn't that a curious little problem, Mrs. Helmer? Can you suggest any explanation? And there's another curious thing. The words 2nd of October and the year are written in a hand which is not your father's, but which I seem to know. Well, there's a simple explanation to that. Your father could have forgotten to write in the date when he signed it, and someone else could have added it before the news came of his death. There's nothing criminal about that. It's the signature itself I'm wondering about. It is genuine, I suppose, Mrs. Helmer. It was your father who wrote his name here?
No, it was not. It was I who wrote Papa's name there.
Look, Mrs. Helmer, do you realize this is a dangerous admission?
Why? You'll get your money.
May I ask you a question? Why didn't you send this paper to your father?
I couldn't. Papa was very ill. If I'd asked him to sign this, I'd have had to tell him that what the money was for. But I couldn't have told him in his condition that my husband's life was in danger. I couldn't have done that.
Then you would have been wiser to have given up your idea of a holiday.
But I couldn't. It was to save my husband's life. I couldn't put it off.
But it didn't occur to you, didn't it occur to you that you were being dishonest towards me?
I couldn't bother about that. I didn't care about you. I hated you because of all the beastly difficulties you'd put in my way when you knew how dangerously ill my husband was.
Mrs. Helmer, you evidently don't appreciate exactly what you've done. But I can assure you that it is no bigger nor worse a crime than the one I once committed, and thereby ruined my whole social position.
Do you expect me to believe that you wouldn't have taken a risk like that to save your wife's life?
Law does not concern itself with motives.
Then the law must be very stupid.
Stupid or not, if I show this paper to the police, you will be judged according to it.
I don't believe that. Hasn't a daughter the right to shield her father from worry and anxiety when he's old and dying? Hasn't a wife the right to save her husband's life? I don't know much about the law, but there must be something somewhere that says that such things are allowed. You ought to know that. You're meant to be a lawyer, aren't you? You can't be a very good lawyer, Mr. Krogstad.
Possibly not. But business, the kind of business we two have been transacting, I think you'll admit I understand something about that. Good. Do as you please. But I tell you this, if I get thrown into the gutter for a second time, I shall take you with me.
He bows and goes out through the hall.
What nonsense! He's trying to frighten me. I'm not that stupid. But no, it's impossible. I did it for love, didn't I?
Mummy, the strange gentleman has gone out into the streets.
Yes, I know. But don't talk to anyone about the strange gentleman. You hear? Not even to Daddy.
No, Mummy. Will you play with us again now?
No, not now.
Oh, but Mummy, you promised.
I know, but I can't just now. Go back to the nursery. I have a lot to do. Go away, my darlings. Go away.
She pushes them gently into the other room and closes the door behind them. She sits on the sofa, takes up her embroidery, stitches for a few moments, but soon stops.
No. Helen, bring in the Christmas tree. No. But it's utterly impossible.
Where shall I put it, madam?
There, in the middle of the room.
Will you be wanting anything else?
No, thank you. I have everything I need.
The maid puts down the tree and goes out.
Now, candles here, flowers there. That loathsome man. Nonsense. Nonsense. There's nothing to be frightened about. The Christmas tree must be beautiful. I'll do everything that you like, Torvald. I'll sing for you, dance for you.
Helmer, with a bundle of papers under his arm, enters.
Oh, are you back already?
Yes. Has anyone been here?
Here? No.
That's strange. I saw Krogstad coming out of the front door.
Did you? Oh, yes. Well, that's quite right. Krogstad was here for a few minutes.
Nora, I can tell from your face he's been here and asked you to put in a good word for him.
Yes.
And you were to pretend you were doing it of your own accord. You weren't going to tell me that he'd been here. He asked you to do that, didn't he?
Yes, Torvald, but...
Nora. And you were ready to enter into such a conspiracy? Just talking to a man like that and making him promises. And then, on top of it all, to tell me an untruth.
An untruth?
Didn't you say that no one had been here? My little songbird must never do that again. A songbird must have a clean beak to sing with. Otherwise, she'll start twittering out of tune. Isn't that the way we want things? Yes, of course it is. So let's not hear more about that. How cozy and peaceful it is here.
Torvald?
Yes?
I'm terribly looking forward to that fancy dress ball at the Stenborgs on Boxing Day.
And I'm terribly curious to see what you're going to surprise me with.
Oh, it's so maddening.
What is?
I can't think of anything to wear. It all seems so stupid and meaningless.
So my little Nora has come to that conclusion, has she?
Hold on, are we just having a few mic issues?
It's gone a bit funny.
Yeah, go again.
Where from?
Where from?
Oh, let's just start from top of the page, Torvald. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Torvald?
Yes?
I'm terribly looking forward to that fancy dress ball at the Stenborgs on Boxing Day.
And I'm terribly curious to see what you're going to surprise me with.
It's so maddening.
What is?
I can't think of anything to wear. It all seems so stupid and meaningless.
So my little Nora has come to that conclusion, has she?
Are you very busy, Torvald?
Oh.
What are those papers?
Just something to do with the bank.
Already?
I persuaded the trust to give me the authority to make certain immediate changes in the staff and organisation. I want to have everything straight by the new year.
Then that's why this poor man, Krogstad.
Hmm.
If you hadn't been so busy, I was going to ask you an enormous favour, Torvald.
Well, tell me, what was it to be?
You know I trust your taste more than anyone's. I'm so anxious to look really beautiful at the fancy dress ball, Torvald. Couldn't you help me to decide what I shall go as? And what kind of costume I ought to wear?
Ah, so little Miss Independent's in trouble, is she? And needs a man to rescue her, does she?
Yes, Torvald. I can't get anywhere without your help.
Well, I'll give the matter some thought. We'll find something.
Oh, how kind of you. Oh, how pretty these red flowers look. But tell me, is it so dreadful, this thing that Krogstad's done?
He forged someone else's name. Have you any idea what that means?
Mightn't he have been forced to do it by some emergency?
He probably just didn't think. That's what usually happens. I'm not so heartless as to condemn a man for an isolated act.
No,
Well,
Torvald. Of course not.
men often succeed in re-establishing themselves if they admit their crime and take their punishment.
Punishment?
But Krogstad didn't do that. He chose to try and trick his way out of it. And that's what has morally destroyed him.
You think that would...
Just think how a man with that load on his conscience must always be lying and cheating and dissembling. How he must wear a mask even in the presence of those who are dearest to him, even his own wife and children. Yes, the children. That's the worst danger, Nora.
Why?
Because an atmosphere of lies contaminates, poisons every corner of the home. Every breath that the children draw in such a house contains the germs of evil.
Do you really believe that?
Oh, my dear. I've come across it so often in my work at the bar. Nearly all young criminals are the children of mothers who are constitutional liars.
Why do you say mothers?
Well, it's usually the mother, though of course a father can have the same influence. Every lawyer knows that only too well. And yet this fellow Krogstad has been sitting at home all these years, poisoning his children with his lies and pretenses. And that's why I say that, morally speaking, he is dead. So, my pretty little Nora must promise me not to plead his case. Your hand on it. Come, come, what's this? Give me your hand. There, that's settled now. I assure you it'd be quite impossible for me to work in the same building as him. I literally feel physically ill in the presence of a man like that.
How hot it is in here. And I've so much to do.
Yes, and I must try to get some of this read before dinner. I'll think about your costume too. And I may even have something up my sleeve to hang in gold paper on the Christmas tree. My precious little songbird.
He goes into his study and closes the door.
It's nonsense. It must be. It's impossible. It must be impossible.
The children are asking if they can come in to Mummy.
No. No, don't let them in. You stay with them, Anne-Marie.
Very good, madam.
Corrupt my little children. Poison my home. It isn't true. It couldn't be true.
Act 2. The same room. In the corner by the piano, the Christmas tree stands, stripped and dishevelled. its candles burning to their sockets. Nora's outdoor clothes lie on the sofa. She is alone in the room, walking restlessly to and fro. At length, she stops by the sofa and picks up her coat. Drops the coat again.
There's someone coming. No, it's no one, of course. No one will come today. It's Christmas Day. Nor tomorrow, but perhaps.
She opens the door and looks out.
No, nothing in the letterbox. Quite empty. Silly. Silly. Of course he won't do anything. It couldn't happen. It isn't possible. Why, I've 3 small children.
The nurse, carrying a large cardboard box, enters from the room on the left.
I found those fancy dress clothes at last, madam.
Thank you. Put them on the table.
They're all rumpled up.
Oh, I do wish I could tear them into a million pieces.
Why, madam, they'll be all right. Just a little patience.
Yes, of course. I'll go and get Mrs. Lind to help me.
But out again in this dreadful weather? You'll catch a chill, madam.
Well, that wouldn't be the worst. How are the children?
Playing with their Christmas presents, poor little dears. But
Are they still asking to see me?
they're so used to having their mummy with them.
Yes. But, Anne-Marie, from now on, I shan't be able to spend so much time with them.
Well, children get used to anything in time.
Do you think so? Do you think they'd forget their mother if she went away from them forever?
Mercy's sake, madam. Forever?
Tell me, Anne-Marie, I've so often wondered, how could you bear to give your child away to strangers?
But I had to when I came to nurse my little Nora.
Do you mean you wanted to?
When I had the chance of such a good job, a poor girl's what's got into trouble can't afford to pick and choose. That good for nothing didn't lift a finger.
But your daughter must have completely forgotten you.
Oh no, indeed she hasn't. She's written to me twice, once when she got confirmed and then again when she got married.
Oh, dear old Anne-Marie. You were a good mother to me.
Poor little Miss Nora. You never had any mother but me.
And if my little ones had no one else, I know you would. No, silly. Silly. Go back to them, Anne-Marie. Now, I must. Tomorrow, you'll see how pretty I shall look.
Why, there'll be no one at the ball as beautiful as my Miss Nora.
She goes into the room left.
Oh,
Begins to unpack the clothes from the box, but soon throws them down again.
oh, if only I dared go out. If I could be sure no one would come and nothing would happen while I were away. Stupid. Stupid. No one will come. I just mustn't think about it. Brush this muff, pretty gloves. Pretty gloves. No, don't think about it. Don't think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, they're coming.
She begins to run towards the door, but stops uncertainly. Mrs. Lind enters from the hall where she's been taking off her outdoor clothes.
Oh, it's you, Christine. There's no one else outside, is there? I'm glad you've come. Oh, you're on silent there.
I hear you at my room asking for me.
Yes, I just happened to be passing. I want to ask you to help me with something. Let's sit down here on the sofa. Look at this. There's going to be a fancy dress ball tomorrow. Upstairs at Consul Stenborg's, and Torval wants me to go as a Neapolitan fisher girl and dance the tarantella. I learned it in Capri.
I say, are you going to give a performance?
Yes, Torvald says I should. Look, Here's the dress. Torvald had it made for me in Italy. But now it's so torn. I don't know.
Oh, we'll soon put that right. The stitching's just come away. Needle and thread? Ah, here we are.
You're being awfully sweet.
So you're going to dress up tomorrow, Nora? I must pop over for a moment to see how you look. Oh, but I've completely forgotten to thank you for that nice evening yesterday.
Oh, I didn't think it was as nice as usual. You ought to have come to town a little earlier, Christine. Yes, Torvald understands how to make a home look attractive.
I'm sure you do too. You're not your father's daughter for nothing. But tell me, is Dr. Rank always in such low spirits as he was yesterday?
No? Well, last night it was very noticeable. But he's got a terrible disease. He's got spinal tuberculosis, poor man. His father was a frightful creature who kept mistresses and so on. As a result, Dr. Rank has been sickly ever since he was a child, you understand.
But, my dear Nora, how on earth did you get to know about such things?
Oh, don't be silly, Christine. When one has 3 children, one comes into contact with women who, well, who know about medical matters and they tell one a thing or two.
Does Dr. Rank visit you every day?
Yes, every day. He's Torvald's oldest friend, and a good friend to me too. Dr. Rank's almost one of the family.
But tell me, is he quite sincere? I mean, doesn't he rather say the sort of thing he thinks people want to hear?
No, well, quite the contrary. What gave you that idea?
When you introduced me to him yesterday, he said he'd often heard my name mentioned here. But later I noticed your husband had no idea who I was. So how could Dr. Rank?
Yes, that's quite right, Christine. You see, Torvald's so hopelessly in love with me that he wants to have me all to himself. Those were his very words when we were first married. He got quite jealous if I as much as mentioned any of my old friends back home. So naturally, I stopped talking about them. But I often chat with Dr. Rank about that kind of thing. He enjoys it, you see.
Now listen, Nora. In many ways, you're still a child. I'm a bit older than you and have a little more experience of the world. There's something I want to say to you. You ought to give up this business with Dr. Rank.
What business?
Well, everything. Last night you were speaking about this rich admirer of yours who was going to give you money.
Yes, and who doesn't exist, unfortunately. But what's that got to do with...
Is Dr. Rank rich?
Yes,
And he has no dependents.
but no one. But
And he comes here to see you every day.
yes, I've told you.
But how dare a man of his education be so forward?
What on earth are you talking about?
Oh, stop pretending, Nora. Do you think I haven't guessed who it was who lent you the £200?
Are you out of your mind? How could you imagine such a thing? A friend, someone who comes by here every day. What, that would be an impossible situation.
Then it really wasn't him?
No, of course not. I've never for a moment dreamt of that. Anyway, he hadn't any money to lend then. We didn't come into that until later.
Well, I think that was a lucky thing for you, Nora dear.
No, I could never have dreamt of asking Dr. Rank. But I'm sure that if ever I did ask him...
But of course you won't.
Of course not. I can't imagine it should ever become necessary. But I'm perfectly sure that if I did speak to Dr. Rank...
Behind your husband's back?
I've got to get out of this other business, and that's been going on behind his back. I've got to get out of it.
Yes, well, that's what I told you yesterday, but...
It's much easier for a man to arrange these things than a woman.
One's husband, yes.
Oh, bosh. When you've completely repaid a debt, you get your IOU back, don't you?
Yes, of course.
And you can tear it into 1,000 pieces and burn the filthy, beastly thing.
Nora, you're hiding something from me.
Can you see that?
Something has happened since yesterday morning, Nora. What is it?
Christine. Shh. There's Torvald. Would you mind going into the nursery for a few minutes? Torvald can't bear to see sewing around. Anne-Marie will help you.
Very well, but I shan't leave this house until we've talked this matter out.
She goes into the nursery, left. As she does so, Helma enters from the hall.
Oh, Torvald, dear. I've been so longing for you to come back.
Was that the dressmaker?
No, it was Christine. She's going to help me mend my costume. I'm going to look rather splendid in it.
Yes, that was quite a bright idea of mine, wasn't it?
Wonderful. But wasn't it nice of me to give in to you?
Nice to give in to your husband. All right, little silly. I know you didn't mean it like that, but I won't disturb you. I expect you'll want to try it on.
Are you going to work now?
Yes. Look at these. I've been down to the bank.
Torvald?
Yes?
If little squirrel asked you really prettily to grant her a wish,
Well,
would you grant it to her?
first I should naturally have to know what it was.
Squirrel would do lots of pretty tricks for you if you granted her wish.
Out with it then.
Your little skylark would sing in every room.
My little skylark does that already.
I'd turn myself into a little fairy and dance for you in the moonlight, Torvald.
Nora, it isn't that business you were talking about this morning.
Yes, Torvald. Oh, please, I beg of you.
Have you really the nerve to bring that up again?
Yes, Torvald, yes. You must do as I ask. You must let Krogstad keep his place at the bank.
My dear Nora, he is the job I'm giving to Mrs. Lind.
Yes, that's terribly sweet of you, but you can't get rid of one of the other clerks. Can't you get rid of one of the other clerks instead of Krogstad?
Really? You're being incredibly obstinate. Just because you thoughtlessly promised to put in a word for him, you expect me to...
No, it isn't that, Helma. It's for your own sake. That man writes for the most beastly newspapers. You said so yourself. He could do you tremendous harm. I'm so dreadfully frightened of him.
No, I understand. Memories of the past. That's what's frightening you.
What do you mean?
You're thinking of your father, aren't you?
Yes. Of course. Just think what those dreadful men wrote in the papers about Papa. The most frightful slanders. I really believe it would have lost him his job in the ministry. Sorry, if the ministry hadn't sent you down to investigate and you hadn't been so kind and helpful to him.
But, my dear little Nora, there is a considerable difference between your father and me. Your father was not a man of unassailable reputation, but I am, and I hope to remain so all my life.
But, all right, buddy. Sorry, come in again. Have this? No, not that, not that. Sorry. What spiteful people may not dig up. We could be so peaceful and happy now, Torvald. We could be free from every worry, you and I, and the children. Oh, please, Torvald, please.
The very fact of your pleading his cause makes it impossible for me to keep him. Everyone at the bank already knows that I intend to dismiss Krogstad. If the rumour got about that the new vice president had allowed his wife to persuade him to change his mind, well...
Sorry, I've lost my own... Oh, yeah. Sorry. Well, what then?
Oh, nothing. Nothing. As long as my little Miss Obstinate gets her way. Do you expect me to make a laughing stock of myself before my entire staff? Give people the idea that I am open to outside influence? Believe me, I would soon feel the consequences. Besides, there's something else that makes it impossible for Krogstad to remain in the bank while I am its manager.
What is that?
I might conceivably have allowed myself to ignore his obloquies,
Yes? Torvald, surely.
and I hear he's quite efficient at his job, but we were school friends. It was one of those friendships that one enters into over hastily and so often comes to regret later in life. I might as well confess the truth. We are on Christiane terms, and the tactless idiot makes no attempt to conceal it when other people are present. On the contrary, he thinks it gives him the right to be familiar with me. He shows off the whole time with Torvald this and Torvald that. I can tell you, I find it damned annoying. If he stayed, he would make my position intolerable.
Torvald, you can't mean this seriously.
Oh? And why not?
But it's so petty.
What did you say? Petty? You think I am petty?
No, Torvald, dear, of course you're not. That's just... Why?
Don't quibble. You call my motives petty, then I must be petty too. Petty? I see. Well, I've had enough of this. Helen!
What are you going to do?
I'm going to settle this matter once and for all. Take this letter downstairs at once. Find a messenger and see that he delivers it immediately. The address is on the envelope. Here's the money.
Maid. You're on mute.
Very good, sir.
There, now, little Miss Obstinate.
Torvald, what was in that letter?
Krogstad's dismissal.
Call her back, Torvald. There's still time. Oh, Torvald, call her back. Do it for my sake, for your own sake, for the children. Do you hear me, Torvald? Please do it. You don't realise what this may do to all of us.
Too late.
Yes, too late.
My dear Nora, I forgive you this anxiety, though it is a bit of an insult to me. Oh, but it is. Isn't it an insult to imply that I should be frightened by the very vindictiveness of a depraved hack journalist? But I forgive you, because it is so charmingly testifies to the love you bear me, which is as it should be. My own dearest Nora, let what will happen happen. When the real crisis comes, you will not find me lacking in strength or courage. I am a man enough to bear the burden for us both.
What do you mean?
Oh, burden, I say.
I shall never let you do that.
Very well. We shall share it, Nora, as man and wife. And that's as it should be. Are you happy now? There. Don't look at me with those frightened little eyes. You're simply imagining things. You go ahead now, and do your tarantella, and get some practice on that tambourine. I'll sit in my study and close the door. Then I won't hear anything, and you can make all the noise you want. When Dr. Rank comes, tell him where to find me.
He goes into his room with his papers and closes the door.
He said he'd do it. He will do it. He will do it, and nothing will stop him. No, never that. I'd rather anything. There must be some escape, some way out.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Dr. Rank. Anything but that. Anything. I don't care.
Passes a hand across her face, composes herself, walks across and opens the door to the hall. Dr. Rank is standing there, hanging up his fur coat. During the following scene, it begins to grow dark.
Good evening, Dr. Rank. I recognised your ring. But you mustn't go into Torvald yet. I think he's busy.
And you?
Oh. You know very well I've always time to talk to you.
Thank you. I shall avail myself of the privilege as long as I can.
What do you mean by that? As long as you can.
Yes. Does that frighten you?
Well, it's a curious expression. Is something going to happen?
Something I've been expecting to happen for a long time, but I didn't think it would happen quite so soon.
What is it, Dr. Rank? You must tell me.
I'm on the way out, and there's nothing to be done about it.
Oh, it's you.
Who else? No, it's no good lying to oneself. I am the most wretched of all my patients, Mrs. Helmer. These last few days have been going through the books of this poor body of mine, and I find I am bankrupt. Within a month, I may be rotting up there in the churchyard.
Oh, what a nasty way to talk.
The facts aren't exactly nice. But the worst is that there's so much else that's nasty that's got to come first. I've only one more test to make. What that's done, I'll have pretty accurate idea of when the final disintegration is likely to begin. I want to ask you a favor. Elmer's a sensitive chap, and I know how he hates anything ugly. I don't want him to visit me when I'm in hospital.
Oh, but Dr. Rank.
I don't want him there on any pretense. I shan't have him allowed in. As soon as I know the worst, I'll send you my visiting card with a black cross on it. And then you'll know that the final filthy process has begun.
Really, you're being quite impossible this evening. And I did hope you'd be in a good mood.
With the death on my hands, and all this to atone for somebody else's sin, is there justice in that? And in every single family, in one way or another, the same merciless law of retribution is at work.
Nonsense. Cheer up. Laugh.
Yes, you're right. Laughter's all the damn thing's fit for. The poor innocent spy must pay for the fun my father had as a gay young lieutenant.
You mean he was too fond of asparagus and foie gras?
Yes, and truffles too.
Yes, of course, truffles. Yes, and oysters too, I suppose.
Yes, oysters. Oysters, of course.
And all that port and champagne to wash them down. It's too sad that all those lovely things should affect one's spine.
Especially a poor spine that never got any pleasure out of them.
Oh, yes. That's the saddest thing of all.
Hmm.
Why did you smile?
No, it was you who laughed.
No, it was you who smiled, Dr. Rank.
You're a worse little rogue than I thought.
Oh, I'm full of stupid tricks today.
So it seems.
Dear, dear Dr. Rank, you mustn't die and leave Torvald and me.
Oh, you'll soon get over it. Once one is gone, one is soon forgotten.
Do you believe that?
One finds replacements, and then
Who will find a replacement?
you and Helmer both will when I am gone. You seem to have made a start already, haven't you? What was this Mrs. Lynn doing here yesterday evening?
Ah, but surely you can't be jealous of poor Christine.
Indeed I am. She'll be my successor in this house. When I have moved on, this lady will...
Shh! Don't speak so loud. She's in there.
Today again? You see?
She's only come to mend my dress. Good heavens, how unreasonable you are. Be nice now, Dr. Rank. Tomorrow you'll see how beautifully I shall dance, and you must imagine that I'm doing it just for you. And for Torvald, of course, obviously. Dr. Rank, sit down here and I'll show you something.
What's this?
Look, here, look.
Silk stockings?
Flesh-coloured, aren't they beautiful? It's very dark in here now, of course, but tomorrow... No, only the soles. Oh, well, I suppose you can look a bit higher if you want to. Why are you looking so critical? Don't you think they'll fit me?
I can't really give you a qualified opinion on that.
Shame on you. Take that.
What other wonders are to be revealed to me?
I shan't show you anything else. You're being naughty.
When I sit here like this, being so intimate with you, I can't think. I cannot imagine what it would have become of me if I hadn't ever entered this house.
Yes. I think you enjoy being with us, don't you?
And now to leave it all.
Oh, nonsense. You're not leaving us.
And not to be able to leave even the most beautiful, most wretched token of gratitude behind, hardly even passing sense of loss, only an empty place to be filled by the next comer.
Suppose I were to ask you to... No.
To do what?
To give me proof of your friendship.
Yes, yes.
No, I mean to do me a very great service.
Would you really, for once, grant me that happiness?
But you've no idea what it is.
Very well, tell me then.
No. But, Dr. Rank, I can't. It's far too much. I want your help and advice, and I want you to do something for me.
The more the better. I've no idea what it could be, but tell me, you do trust me, don't you?
Oh, yes. More than anyone, you're my best friend and truest friend. Otherwise, I couldn't tell you. Well then, Dr. Rank, there's something you must help me to prevent. You know how much Torvald loves me. He'd never hesitate for an instant to lay down his life for me.
Nora, do you think he's the only one
What do you mean?
who would gladly lay down his life for you?
Oh, I see.
I swore to myself I would let you know that before I go. I shall never have a better opportunity. Well, Nora, now you know that. And now you also know that you can trust me as you can trust no one else.
Let me pass, please.
Nora.
Helen, bring the lamp. Oh, dear. Dr. Rank, this was really horrid of you.
That I have loved you all as deeply as anyone else has? Was that horrid of me?
No, but you should go and... But that you should go and tell me. But that was quite unnecessary.
What do you mean? Did you know? But then...
Maid enters with the lamp, puts it on the table and goes out.
Nora, Miss Summer, I'm asking you, did you know this?
Oh, what do I know? What did I know? What didn't I know? I really can't say. How could you be so stupid, Dr. Rank? Everything was so nice.
Well, at any rate now, you know that I'm ready to serve you, body and soul. So Please continue.
After this,
Please tell me what it is.
I can't possibly tell you now.
Yes, yes. You mustn't punish me like this. Let me be allowed to do what I can for you.
You can't do anything for me now. Anyway, I don't really need any help. It was only my imagination. You'll see. Yes. Really, honestly. Well, upon my word, you are a fine gentleman, Dr. Rank. Aren't you ashamed of yourself now that the lamp's been lit?
Frankly, no. But perhaps I ought to say, do.
Of course not. You will naturally continue to visit us before. You know quite well how Torvald depends on your company.
Yes, but you?
Oh, I always think it's enormous fun having you here.
That's what misled me. You're a riddle to me, you know. I've often felt you'd just as soon be with me as with Helmer.
Well, you see, there are some people whom one loves and others whom it's almost more fun to be with.
Oh, yes, there's some truth in that.
When I was at home, of course, I loved Papa best, but I always used to think it was terribly amusing to go down and talk to the servants because they never told me what I ought to do, and they were such fun to listen to.
I see. So I've taken their place?
Oh, dear, sweet Dr. Rank, I didn't mean that at all. But I'm sure you understand. I feel the same about Torvald as I did about Papa.
Maid enters from the hall.
Excuse me, madam.
Oh,
Anything wrong?
no, nothing at all. Just something that. It's my new dress.
What? If your costume is lying over there.
Oh, that, yes, but there's another. I ordered it especially. Torvald mustn't know.
Ah, so that's your big secret?
Yes. Yes, go in and talk to him. He's in his study. Keep him talking for a bit.
Don't worry. You won't get away from me.
Goes into Helmer's study.
Is he waiting in the kitchen?
Yes, madam. He came up the back way.
But didn't you tell him I had a visitor?
Yes, but he wouldn't go.
Wouldn't go.
No, madam. Not until he'd spoken with you.
Very well. Show him in quietly, Helen. You mustn't tell anyone about this. It's a surprise for my husband.
Very good, madam. I understand.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening after all. No. No, it can't happen. It mustn't happen.
She walks across and bolts the door of Helmer's study. The maid opens the door from the hall to admit Krogstad and closes it behind him. He's wearing an overcoat, heavy boots, and a fur cap.
Speak quietly. My husband's at home.
Let him hear.
What do you want from me?
Information.
Hurry up, then. What is it?
I suppose you know I've been given this sack.
I couldn't stop it, Mr. Krogstad. I did my best for you, but it didn't help.
Does your husband love you so little? He knows what I can do, and yet he dares to...
Surely you don't imagine I told him.
No, I didn't really think you had. It wouldn't have been like my old friend Torvald Helmer to show that much courage.
Mr. Krogstad, I'll trouble you to speak respectfully of my husband.
Don't worry. I'll show him all the respect he deserves. But since you're so anxious to keep this matter hushed up, I presume you're better informed than you were yesterday of the gravity of what you've done?
I've learned more than you could ever teach me.
Yes, a bad lawyer like me.
What do you want from me?
I just wanted to see how things were with you, Mrs. Helmer. I've been thinking about you all day. Even duns and hack journalists have hearts, you know.
Show some heart, then. Think of my little children.
Have you and your husband thought of mine? Well, let's forget that. I just wanted to tell you, you don't need to take this business too seriously. I'm not going to take any action for the present.
Oh, no, you won't. Will you? I knew it.
It can all be settled quite amicably. There's no need for it to become public. We'll keep it among the three of us.
No, my husband must never know about this.
How can you stop him? Can you pay the balance of what you owe me?
Not immediately.
Have you any means of raising the money during the next few days?
None that I would care to use.
Well, it wouldn't have helped anyway. However much money you offered me now, I wouldn't give you back that paper.
What are you going to do with it?
Just keep it. No one else need ever hear about it. So in case you were thinking of doing anything desperate.
I am!
Such as running away.
I am.
Or anything more desperate.
How did you know?
Give up the idea.
How did you know?
Most of us think of that at first. I did. But I hadn't the courage.
Neither have I.
It's true, isn't it? You haven't the courage either.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
It'd be a stupid thing to do anyway. Once the first little domestic explosion is over, I've got a letter in my pocket here addressed to your husband.
Telling him everything?
As delicately as possible.
He must never see that letter. Tear it up. I'll find the money somehow.
Sorry, Mrs. Helmer, I thought I'd explained.
I don't mean the money I owe you. Let me know how much you want from my husband and I'll find it for you.
I'm not asking your husband for money.
What do you want then?
I'll tell you. I want to get on my feet again, Mrs. Helmer. I want to get to the top. And your husband's going to help me. For 18 months now, my record's been clean. I've been in hard straits all that time. I was content to fight my way back, inch by inch. And now I've been chucked back into the mud, and I'm not going to be satisfied with just getting my job back. I'm going to get to the top, I tell you. I'm going to get back into the bank, and it's going to be higher up. Your husband's going to create a new job for me.
He'll never do that.
Oh, yes, he will. I know him. He won't dare to risk a scandal. And once I'm in there with him, you'll see. Within a year, I'll be his right-hand man. It'll be Niels Krogstad who'll be running that bank, not Torvald Helmer.
That will never happen.
Oh, are you thinking of...
Now I have the courage.
You can't frighten me. A pampered little pretty like you.
You'll see. You'll see.
Under the ice, down in the cold black waters, and then in the spring to float up again, ugly, unrecognizable, hairless.
You can't frighten me.
And you can't frighten me. People don't do such things, Mrs. Helmer. And anyway, what would be the use? I've got him in my pocket.
But afterwards, when I'm no longer...
You've forgotten that your reputation will be in my hands. Well, I've warned you. Don't do anything silly. When Helmer's read my letter, you'll get in touch with me. And remember, it's your husband who has forced me to act like this. For that, I'll never forgive him. Goodbye, Mrs. Helmer.
He goes out through the hall. Nora runs to the hall door, opens it a few inches and listens.
He's going. He's not going to give him the letter. No. No, it couldn't possibly happen.
Opens the door a little wider.
What's he doing? Standing outside the front door. He's not going downstairs. Is he changing his mind? Yes.
A letter falls into the letterbox. Krogstad's footsteps die away down the stairs. She runs across the room towards a table by the sofa.
In the letterbox. Oh, there it is. Oh, Torvald, now we're lost.
Mrs. Lind enters from the nursery with Nora's costume.
Oh, I've done the best I can. Shall we see how it looks?
Oh, Christine, come here.
What's wrong with you? You look as though you've seen a ghost.
Come here. Do you see that letter? There, look through the glass in the letterbox.
Yes, I see it.
That letter's from Krogstad.
Nora, it was Krogstad who lent you the money?
Yes, and now Torvald's going to discover everything.
Believe me, Nora, it'll be best for you both.
You don't know what's happened. I've committed a forgery.
But for heaven's sake.
Christine, all I want for you is to be my witness.
What do you mean? Witness what?
If I should go out of my mind, and it might easily happen.
Nora.
Or if anything else should happen to me, so that I wasn't here any longer.
Nora, you don't know what you're saying.
If anyone should try and take the blame and say it was all his fault, you understand?
Yes, but how can you think?
Then you must testify that it isn't true, Christine. I'm not mad. I know exactly what I'm saying, and I'm telling you, no one else knows anything else about this. I did it entirely on my own. Remember that?
Right, but I simply don't understand.
How could you understand? A miracle is about to happen.
Miracle?
Yes, a miracle, but it's so frightening, Christine. It mustn't happen, not for anything in the world.
I'll go over and talk to Krogstad.
Don't go near him. He'll only do something to hurt you.
Once upon a time, he'd have done anything for my sake.
He?
Where does he live?
Oh, how should I know? Oh, yes. Oh, wait a moment. Here's his card. But the letter. The letter.
Nora!
What is it?
Now, don't get alarmed. We're not coming in. You've closed the door. Are you trying on your costume?
Yes, I'm trying on my costume. I'm going to look so pretty for you, Torvald.
Why? He lives just round the corner.
Yes, but it's no use. There's nothing to be done now. The letter's lying in the box.
And your husband has the key?
Yes, he always keeps it.
Krogstad must ask him to send the letter back unread. He must find some excuse.
But Torvald always opens the box at just about this time.
You must stop him. Go in and keep him talking. I'll be back as quickly as I can.
She hurries out through the hall. Nora goes over to Helma's door, opens it and peeps in.
Torvald?
Well, may a man enter his own drawing room again? Come on, Rank. Now we'll see what's this?
What, Torvald, dear?
Well, Rank's been preparing me for some great transformation scene.
Well, I understood. We seem to have been mistaken.
Yes, no one's allowed to see me before tomorrow night.
Well, my dear Nora, you look quite worn out. Have you been practicing too hard?
No, I haven't practiced at all yet.
Well, you must.
Yes, Torvald, I must, I know, but I can't get anywhere without your help. I've completely forgotten everything.
Oh, we'll soon put that to rights.
Yes, help me, Torvald. Promise me you will. Oh, I'm so nervous. All those people. You must forget everything except me this evening. You mustn't think of business. I wouldn't even let you touch a pen. Promise me, Torvald.
I promise. This evening I shall think of nothing but you, my poor, helpless little darling. Oh, there's just one thing I must see to.
Goes towards the hall door.
What do you want out there?
Well, I'm only going to see if any letters have come.
No! Torvald, no!
Why, what's the matter?
Torvald, I beg you, there's nothing there.
Well, I'll just make sure.
He moves towards the door. Nora runs to the piano and plays the first bars of the tarantella.
Aha!
I can't dance tomorrow if I don't practice with you now.
Really so frightened, Nora dear?
Yes, terribly frightened. Let me start practicing now at once. We've still got time before dinner. Oh, do sit down and play for me, Torvald, dear. Correct me, lead me, the way you always do.
Very well, my dear, if you wish it.
He sits down at the piano. Nora seizes the tambourine and a long multicoloured shawl from the cardboard box, wraps the shawl hastily around her, and then takes a quick leap into the centre of the room and cries,
Play for me. I want to dance.
Helmer plays and Nora dances. Dr. Rank stands behind Helmer at the piano and watches her.
Slower, slower.
I can't.
Not so violently, Nora.
I must.
No, no, this won't do at all.
Isn't that what I told you?
Let me play for her.
Yes, would you? Then it'll be easier for me to show her.
Rank sits down at the piano and plays. Nora dances more and more wildly. Helmer has stationed himself by the stove and tries repeatedly to correct her, but she seems not to hear him. Her hair works loose and falls over her shoulders. She ignores it and continues to dance. Mrs. Lynde enters.
Ah,
Oh, Christine, we're having such fun.
But, Nora, darling, you're dancing as if your life depended on it.
It does.
Rank, stop it. This is sheer lunacy. Stop it, I say.
Rank ceases playing. Nora suddenly stops dancing.
I never believed it. You've forgotten everything I've taught you.
You see?
I'll have to show you every step.
You see how much I need you? You must show me every step of the way, right to the end of the dance. Promise me you will, Torvald.
Never fear. I will.
You mustn't think about anything but me, today or tomorrow. Don't open any letters. Don't even open the letterbox.
Aha. You're still worried about that fellow.
Oh, yes, him too.
Nora, I can tell from the way you're behaving. There's a letter from him already lying there.
I don't know. I think so. But you mustn't read it now. I don't want anything ugly to come between us till it's all over.
Better give her way.
My child shall have her way. But tomorrow night, when your dance is over,
Then you will be free.
Dinner is served, madam.
Put out some champagne, Helen.
Very good, madam.
I say, what's this? A banquet?
We'll drink champagne until dawn. And Helen, put out some macaroons. Lots of macaroons for once.
No, don't get so excited. Where's my little songbird? The one I know.
All right, go and sit down. You too, Dr. Rank. I'll be with you in a minute. Christine, you must help me put my hair up.
There's nothing wrong, is there? I mean, she isn't expecting.
Good heavens, no, my dear chap. She just gets scared like a child sometimes. I told you before.
Well,
he's left town.
I saw it from your face.
You're back tomorrow evening. I left a note for him.
You needn't have bothered. You can't stop anything now anyway. It's wonderful, really, in a way, sitting here and waiting for the miracle to happen.
Waiting for what?
Oh, you shouldn't understand. Go in and join them. I'll be with you in a moment.
Mrs. Lynde goes into the dining room. She looks at her watch.
5 o'clock. 7 hours till midnight, then another 24 hours till midnight tomorrow. Then the tarantella will be finished. 24 and 7. 31 hours to live.
Helmer appears.
What's happened to my little songbird?
Your songbird is here.
Act 3. The same room, the table, which was formerly the sofa, has been moved into the centre of the room. Chairs surround it. Lamp is burning on the table. The door to the hall stands open. Dance music can be heard from the floor above. Mrs. Lind is seated at the table, absent-mindedly glancing through a book. She's trying to read, but it seems unable to keep her mind on it. More than once, she turns and listens anxiously towards the front door. Mrs. Lind looks at her watch.
Not here yet. There's not much time left. Please, God, he hasn't. Ah, here he is.
Goes out into the hall and cautiously opens the front door. Footsteps can be heard softly ascending the stairs.
Come in. There's no one here.
Note from you at my lodgings. What does this mean?
I must speak with you.
Oh, and must our conversation take place in this house?
We couldn't meet at my place. My room has no separate entrance. Come in. We're quite alone. The maid's asleep and the Helmers are at the dance upstairs.
Well, well. So the Helmers are dancing this evening. Are they
What?
indeed?
Sorry. Yes, why not?
True enough. Why not?
Well, Krogstad, you and I must have a talk together.
Have we to anything further to discuss?
We have a great deal to discuss.
I wasn't aware of it.
That's because you never really understood me.
Was there anything to understand? It's the old story, isn't it? A woman chucking a man because something better turns up.
Do you really think I'm so utterly heartless? You think it was easy for me to give you up?
Wasn't it?
Oh, Nils, did you really believe that?
Then why did you write to me the way you did?
I had to. Since I had to break with you, I thought it was my duty to destroy all the feelings you had for me.
That was it. You did this for money.
You mustn't forget, I had a helpless mother to take care of and 2 little brothers. We couldn't wait for you, Nils. It would have been so long before you'd have had enough to support us.
Yeah, maybe. But you had no right to cast me off as someone else.
Perhaps not. I've often asked myself that.
When I lost you, it was just as though all solid ground had been swept out from under my feet. Look at me. Now I'm a shipwrecked man clinging to a spar.
Help may be near at hand.
It was near. But then you came and stood between it and me.
I didn't know, Nils. No one told me till today that this job I'd found was yours.
I'd leave you since you say so. But now you know. Won't you give it up?
No, because it wouldn't help you even if I did.
Wouldn't it? I'd do it all the same.
I've learnt to look at things practically. Life and poverty have taught me that.
And life has taught me to distrust fine words.
Then it has taught you a useful lesson. But surely you still believe in actions.
What do you mean?
You said you were like a shipwrecked man clinging to a spar.
A good reason to say it.
I'm in the same position as you. No one to care about, no one to care for.
You made your choice, your own choice.
I had no choice then.
Well?
Nils, suppose we 2 shipwrecked souls could join hands.
What do you say?
Castaways have a better chance of survival together than on their own.
Christine.
Why do you suppose I came to this town?
You mean you came because of me?
I must work if I'm to find life worth living. I've always worked for as long as I can remember. It's been the greatest joy of my life, my only joy. But now I'm alone in the world and I feel so dreadfully lost and empty. There's no joy in working just for oneself. Oh, Nils, give me something, someone to work for.
I don't believe all of that. You're just being hysterical and romantic. You want to find an excuse for self-sacrifice.
Have you ever known me to be hysterical?
I mean, you really... Is it possible? Tell me, you know all about my past.
Yes.
You know what people think of me here.
You said just now that with me, you might have become a different person.
I know. I could have.
Couldn't it still happen?
Christine, do you really mean this? Yes. You do. I see it in your face. Have you really the courage?
I need someone to be a mother to, and your children need a mother. And you and I need each other. I believe in you, Nils. I'm afraid of nothing with you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you. Now, I shall make the world believe in me as you do. Oh. But I'd forgotten.
The tarantella. Go quickly, go.
Why? What is it?
You hear that dance? As soon as it's finished, they'll be coming down.
All right. All right, I'll go. It's no good, Christine. I'd forgotten. You don't know what I've done to the Helmers.
Yes, Nils, I know.
And yet you'd still have the courage to...
I know what despair can drive a man like you to.
If only I could undo this.
You can. Your letter is still lying in the box.
Are you sure?
Quite sure. But
Is that why you're doing this? You want to save your friend at any price? Tell me the truth. Is that the reason?
Nils, a woman who has sold herself once for the sake of others doesn't make the same mistake again.
I shall demand my letters back.
No, no.
No, of course I shall. I shall stay here till Helmer comes down. I'll tell him he must give me my letter back my letter. And I'll say it was only to do with my dismissal, and I don't want him to read it.
No, Nils, you mustn't ask for that letter back.
But tell me, wasn't that the real reason you asked me to come here?
Yes, at first when I was frightened. But a day has passed since then. And in that time, I've seen incredible things happen in this house. Helmer must know the truth. This unhappy secret of Nora's must be revealed. They must come to a full understanding. There must be an end of all these shiftings and evasions.
Very well. If you're prepared to risk it. But one thing I can do, and at once.
Hurry, go, go. The dance is over. We aren't safe here another moment.
I'll wait for you downstairs.
Yes, do. You can see me home.
I've never been so happy in my life before.
He goes out through the front door. The door leading from the room into the hall remains open.
What a change. Oh, what a change. Someone to work for, to live for, a home to bring joy into. I won't let this chance of happiness slip through my fingers. Oh, why won't they come? Ah, here they are. I must get my coat on.
She takes her hat and coat. Helmer's and Nora's voices become audible outside. A key is turned in the lock, and Helmer leads Nora almost forcibly into the hall. She's dressed in an Italian costume with a large black shawl. He is in evening dress with a black coat.
No, 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 don't, not in there. I want to go back upstairs. I don't want to leave so early.
But my dearest Nora,
Oh, please, Torvald, please, just another hour.
not another minute. Nora, my sweet, you know what we agreed. Come along now into the drawing room. You'll catch your cold if you stay out here.
Oh, he leads her, desperate, despite her efforts to resist him, gently into the room.
Good evening.
Christine?
Ah, hello, Mrs. Lind. You still here?
Please forgive me. I did so want to see Nora in her costume.
Have you been sitting here waiting for me?
Yes, I got here too late, I'm afraid. You'd already gone up, and I felt I really couldn't go home without seeing you.
Well, take a good look at her. She's worth looking at, don't you think? Isn't she beautiful, Mrs. Lind?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Isn't she unbelievably beautiful? Everyone at the party said so. But dreadfully stubborn she is. Bless her pretty little heart. What's to be done about that? Would you believe it? I practically had to use force to get her away.
Oh, Torvald, you're going to regret not letting me stay. Just half an hour longer.
You hear that, Mrs. Lind? She dances her tarantella, makes a roaring success, and very well deserved. Possibly a trifle too realistic. More so than was aesthetically necessary, strictly speaking. But never mind that. Main thing is, she had a success. Roaring success. Was I going to let her stay on after that and spoil the impression? No, thank you. I took my beautiful little Capri Signorina, my capricious little Capricienne, what? Under my arm, a swift round the ballroom, a curtsy at the company, and, as they say in novels, the beautiful apparition disappeared. An exit should always be dramatic, Mrs. Lind. But unfortunately, that's just what I can't get Nora to realize, I say. It's hot in here. What's this? It's dark in here. Ah, yes, of course. Excuse me.
Well,
I've spoken to him.
yes.
Nora, you must tell your husband everything.
I knew it.
You have nothing to fear from Krogstad, but you must tell him.
I shan't tell him anything.
Then the letter will.
Thank you, Christine. Now I know what I must do.
Well, Mrs. Lind, finished admiring her?
Yes, and now I must say good night.
Ah, already? Does this knitting belong to you?
Thank you. Yes, I nearly forgot it.
You knit them?
Why, yes.
Know what? You ought to take up embroidery.
Oh, why?
It's much prettier. Watch me now. You hold the embroidery in your left hand like this, and then you take the needle in your right hand and go in and out in a slow, easy movement, just like this. I'm right, aren't I?
Yes, I'm sure.
But knitting now, that's an ugly business. You can't help it. Look, arms all huddled up, great clumsy needles going up and down. I say that really was a magnificent champagne they served us.
Well, good night, Nora, and stop being stubborn, remember.
Quite right, Mrs. Lind.
Good night, Mr. Halmer.
Good night. Good night. I hope you'll manage to get home all right. I'd gladly, but you haven't far to go, have you? Good night. Good night.
She goes. He closes the door behind her and returns.
Well, we've got rid of her at last. Dreadful bore that woman is.
Aren't you very tired, Torvald?
No, not in the least.
Aren't you sleepy?
Not a bit. On the contrary, I feel extraordinarily exhilarated. But what about you? Yes, you look very sleepy and tired.
Yes. I am very tired. Soon I shall sleep.
You see? You see how right I was not to let you stay longer.
Oh, you're always right. Whatever you do.
Now my little songbird's talking just like a real big human being. I say, did you notice how cheerful Rank was this evening?
Oh, was he? I didn't have a chance to speak with him.
No, I hardly did. But I haven't seen him in such a jolly mood for ages. I say, it's nice to get back to one's home again and be all alone with you. Upon my word, you're a distractingly beautiful young woman.
Oh, don't look at me like that, Torvald.
What? Not look at my most treasured possession? At all this wonderful beauty that's mine alone, all mine?
You mustn't talk to me like that tonight.
You've still the tarantella in your blood, I see. And that makes you even more desirable. Listen, now the other guests are beginning to go. Nora, soon the whole house will be absolutely quiet.
Yes, I hope so.
Yes, my beloved Nora. Of course you do. You know, when I'm out with you among other people like we were tonight, do you know why I say so little to you? Why I keep so aloof from you and just throw you an occasional glance? Do you know why I do that? It's because I pretend to myself that you're my secret mistress, my clandestine little sweetheart, and that nobody knows there's anything at all between us.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know you never think of anything but me.
And then, when we're about to go, and I wrap the shawl around your lovely young shoulders over this wonderful curve of your neck, then I pretend to myself that you are my young bride, and we've just come from the wedding, and that I'm taking you to my house for the first time. And for the first time, I am alone with you, quite alone with you, as you stand there, young and trembling and beautiful. All evening, I've had no eyes for anyone but you. And when I saw you dance the tarantella like a huntress, a temptress, my blood grew hot. I couldn't stand it any longer. And that was why I seized you and dragged you down here with me.
Leave me, Torvald. Get away from me. I don't want all this.
What? No, Nora, you're joking with me. Don't what? Don't want? Aren't I your husband?
There is a
What was
knock
that?
at the front door.
What was that?
It's me. May I come in for a moment?
Oh, wait a moment. Ah, nice of you not to go by without looking in.
I thought I'd heard your voice, so I felt I had to say goodbye. Ah, yes, these dear rooms. How well I know them. What a happy, peaceful home you two have.
You seem to be having a pretty happy time yourself upstairs.
Indeed, I did. Why not? Why should one make the most of the world as much as one can and for as long as one can? The wine was excellent.
Especially the champagne.
You notice that too.
Mm.
It's almost incredibly how much I managed to get down.
Torvald drank a lot of champagne too this evening.
Oh,
Yes, it always makes him merry afterwards.
well, why shouldn't a man have a merry evening after a well-spent day?
Well spent. I don't think I can claim that.
I can, though, my dear fellow.
Yes, of course, Dr. Rank. You've been carrying out a scientific experiment today, haven't you?
Exactly.
Scientific experiment. God, those are big words for my little Nora to use.
And may I congratulate you on the finding?
You may indeed.
It was good then.
The best possible finding, both for the doctor and the patient. Certainty,
Certainty?
absolute certainty. So aren't I entitled to have a merry evening after that?
Yes. Dr. Rank, you were quite right too.
I agree, provided you don't have to regret it tomorrow.
Well, you never get anything in this life without paying for it.
Dr. Rank, you like masquerades, don't you?
Yes, if the disguises are sufficiently amusing.
Tell me, what shall we two wear at the next masquerade?
You little gadabout. Are you thinking about the next one already?
We two? Yes, I'll tell you. You must go as the spirit of happiness.
You try to think of a costume that'll convey that.
Your wife need only appear as her normal, everyday self.
Quite right. Well said. What are you going to be? Have you decided that?
Yes, my dear friend, I have decided that.
Well,
At the next masquerade, I shall be invisible.
Well, that's a funny idea.
There's a big black hat. Haven't you heard of that invisible hat? Once it's over your head, no one can see you anymore.
Ah, yes, of course.
But I'm forgetting what I came for. Number, give me a cigar, one of your black Havanas.
With the greatest pleasure.
Thank you.
Let me give you a light.
Ah, thank you. And now, goodbye.
Goodbye, my dear chap. Goodbye.
Sleep well, Dr. Rank.
Thank you for that kind wish.
Wish me the same.
You? Very well. Since you ask, sleep well. And thank you for the light.
He's been drinking too much.
Perhaps. Torvald, what do you want out there?
I must empty the letterbox. It's absolutely full. There'll be no room for the newspapers in the morning.
Are you going to work tonight?
You know very well I'm not. Oh, hello. What's this? Someone's been at the lock.
At the lock?
Yes, I'm sure of it. What on earth? Surely not one of the maids. Here's a broken hairpin. Nora, it's yours.
Then it must have been the children.
Well, you'll have to break them of that habit. Yeah, that's done it.
Takes out
Helen?
the contents of the box and calls into the kitchen.
Helen! Helen! The light on the staircase.
Comes back into the drawing room and closes the door to the hall.
You see how they piled up? This.
The letter. Oh no, Torvald, no.
2 visiting cards from Rank.
From Dr. Rank.
Peter Rank, MD. They were on the top. He must have just dropped them in as he left.
Has he written anything on them?
Well, there's a black cross above his name. Rather gruesome, isn't it? Looks just as though he was announcing his death.
He is.
What? Do you know something? Has he told you anything?
Yes. When these cards come, it means he said goodbye to us. He wants to shut himself up in his house and die.
Oh, poor fellow. I knew I wouldn't be seeing him for much longer, but so soon. And now he's going to slink away and hide like a wounded beast.
When the time comes, it's best to go silently. Don't you think so, Torvald?
He was so much part of our life. Can't realize that he's gone. His suffering and loneliness seems to provide a kind of dark background to the happy sunlight of our marriage. Well, perhaps it's best this way. For him, anyway. And perhaps for us too, Nora. Now we only have each other. Oh, my beloved wife. I feel as though I could never hold you close enough. Do you know, Nora? Often I wish some terrible danger might threaten you, so that I could offer my life and my blood, everything for your sake.
Read your letters now, Torvald.
No, not tonight. Tonight I want to be with you, my darling wife.
When your friend is about to die?
You're right. This news has upset us both, and an ugliness has come between us. Thoughts of death and dissolution. We must try to forget them. Until then, you go to your room, I shall go to mine.
Good night, Torvald. Good night.
Good night, my darling little songbird. Sleep well, Nora. I'll go and read my letters.
He goes into his study with the letters in his hand and closes the door.
Never see him again, never. Never, never. Never see the children again, them too. Never, never. Oh, icy black water, oh, that bottomless. Oh, if only it were all over. No, he's got it, he's reading it. Oh, no. No, not yet. Goodbye, Torvald. Goodbye, my darlings.
She turns to run into the hall, and as she does so, Helmer throws open the door and stands there with an open letter in his hand.
Nora,
Oh,
what is it? Do you know what is in this letter?
yes, I know. Let me go. Let me go.
Go.
You mustn't try and save me, Torvald.
True? Is it true what he writes? Oh, no, it's impossible. It can't be true.
It is. I loved you more than anything else in the world.
Oh, don't try to make silly excuses.
Torvald,
Wretched woman! What have you done?
let me go. You're not going to suffer for my sake. I won't let you.
Be theatrical here and explain yourself. Do you understand what you've done? Answer me. Do you understand?
Yes, now I'm beginning to understand.
Oh, what a dreadful awakening. For 8 whole years. She who was my pride and joy, a hypocrite, a liar, worse, a criminal. Hideousness of it. Shame on you. Shame. Guess that something of this sort would happen. I should have foreseen it. All your father's recklessness and instability. Be quiet! All your father's recklessness and instability he has handed on to you. No religion, no morals, no sense of duty. Oh, I have been punished for closing my eyes to his fault. I did it for your sake. And now you reward me like this.
Yes, like this.
Now you have destroyed all my happiness. You have ruined my whole future. Too dreadful to contemplate. I am in the power of a man who is completely without scruples. Do what he likes with me. Demand what he pleases. Order me to do anything. I did not disobey him. I am condemned to humiliation and ruin simply for the weakness of a woman.
When I am gone from this world, you will be free.
Melodramatic. Your father was always ready with that kind of remark. How would it help me if you were gone from the world, as you put it? It wouldn't assist me in the slightest. He can still make all the facts public, and if he does, I may quite easily be suspected of having been an accomplice in your crime. People may think that I was behind it, that it was I who encouraged you. And for all this, I have to thank you. You whom I have carried on my hands through all the years of our marriage. Now do you realize what you have done to me?
Yes.
It's so unbelievable, I can hardly credit it. But we must try to find some way out. Take off that shawl. Take it off, I say! I must try to buy him off somehow. This thing must be hushed up at any price. As regards to our relationship, we must appear to be living together just as before. Only appear, of course. You will therefore continue to reside here, that is understood, but the children shall be taken out of your hands. I dare no longer entrust them to you. Oh, to have to say this to a woman I once loved so dearly, and whom I still... Well, all that must be finished. Henceforth, there can be no question of happiness. We must merely strive to save what shreds and tatters. What can it be? This hour? Sure not. He wouldn't. Hide yourself, Nora. Say you're ill.
A letter for Madam.
Give it to me. Yes. It's from him. You're not having it. I'll read this myself.
Read it.
I hardly dare to. This may mean the end for us both. No, I must know. Nora. Nora. No, I must read it once more. Yes. Yes. It's true. I am saved. Nora, I am saved.
What about me?
You too, of course. We're both saved, you and I. Look, he's returning your IOU. He writes that he is sorry for what has happened. A happy accident has changed his life. What does he matter what he writes? We are saved, Nora. No one can harm you now. Oh, Nora. Nora, first. No. Let me destroy this filthy thing. Let me see. No, I don't want to look at it. I shall regard the whole business as a dream. There. Now they are destroyed. He wrote that ever since Christmas Eve, you've been... Oh, these must have been 3 dreadful days for you, Nora.
Yes, it's been a hard fight.
Must have been terrible. Seeing no way out except... No. And we'll forget the whole sordid business. We'll just be happy and go on telling ourselves over and over again, it's over! It's over! Listen to me, Nora. You don't seem to realize it's over. Why are you looking so pale? My poor little Nora, I understand. You can't believe that I have forgiven you. But I have, Nora. I swear it to you. I have forgiven you everything. I know that what you did for your love of me.
That is true.
You have loved me as a wife should love her husband. It was simply that in your inexperience you chose the wrong means. But do you think I love you any less? Because you don't know how to act on your own initiative? No. No, just lean on me. I shall counsel you. I shall guide you. I would not be a true man if your feminine helplessness did not make you doubly attractive in my eyes. You mustn't find the hard words I said to you in those first dreadful moments when my whole world seemed to be tumbling about my ears. I have forgiven you, Nora. I swear it to you. I have forgiven you.
Thank you for your forgiveness.
Oh.
Goes out through the door right.
Oh, don't go. What are you doing there?
Taking off my fancy dress.
Yes, do that. Try to calm yourself and get your balance again, my frightened little songbird. Don't be afraid. I have broad wings to shield you. How lovely and peaceful this little home of ours is, Nora. You are safe here. I shall watch over you like a hunted dove which I have snatched unharmed from the claws of the falcon. Your wildly beating little heart shall find peace with me. It will happen, Nora. It will take time, but it will happen, believe me. Tomorrow all this will seem quite different. Soon everything will be as it was before. I shall no longer need to remind you that I have forgiven you. Your own heart will tell you that it is true. Do you really think that I could ever bring myself to disown you, or even to reproach you? Oh, Nora, you don't understand what goes on in a husband's heart. There is something indescribably wonderful and satisfying for a husband in knowing that he has forgiven his wife. Forgiven her unreservedly from the bottom of his heart. It means that she has become his property in a double sense. He has, as it were, brought her into the world anew. She is now not only his wife, but also his child. From now on, that is what you shall be to me, my poor, helpless, bewildered little creature. Never be frightened of anything again, Nora. Just open your heart to me. I shall be both your will and your conscience. What's this? Not in bed. Have you changed?
Yes, Torvald, I've changed.
But why now, so late?
I shall not sleep tonight.
But, my dear Nora.
It isn't that late. Sit down there, Torvald. You and I have a lot to talk about.
Nora? What does this mean? You look quite drawn.
Sit down. It's going to take a long time. I have a lot to say to you.
You alarm me, Nora. No, I don't understand you.
No, that's just it. You don't understand me. And I've never understood you until this evening. No, don't interrupt me. Just listen to what I have to say. You and I have got to face facts, Torvald.
What do you mean by that?
Doesn't anything strike you about the way we're sitting here?
What?
We've been married for 8 years. Does it occur to you that this is the first time we two, you and I, man and wife, have ever had a serious talk together?
Serious? What do you mean serious?
8 whole years. No, longer. Ever since we first met, we have never exchanged a serious word on a serious subject.
Did you expect me to drag you into all my worries? Worries you couldn't possibly have helped me with?
I'm not talking about worries. I'm simply saying that we have never sat down seriously to try to get to the bottom of anything.
But, my dear Nora, what on earth has that got to do with you?
That's just the point. You've never understood me. A great wrong has been done to me, Torvald. First by Papa, then by you.
What? But we two have loved you more than anyone in the world.
You've never loved me. You just thought it was fun to be in love with me.
Nora, what kind of a way is this to talk?
It's the truth, Torvald. When I lived with Papa, he used to tell me what he thought about everything, so that I never had any opinions but his. And if I did have any of my own, I kept them quiet because he wouldn't have liked them. He called me his little doll, and he played with me just the way I played with my dolls. Then I came here to live in your house.
What kind of a way is that to describe our marriage?
I mean, then I passed from Papa's hands into yours. You arranged everything the way you wanted it, so that I simply took over your taste in everything, or pretended I did. I don't really know. I think it was a little of both at first, one then the other. Now I look back on it, it's as if I've been living here like a pauper, from hand to mouth. I performed tricks for you, and you gave me food and drink. But that was how you wanted it. You and Papa have done me a great wrong. It's your fault that I have done nothing with my life.
Nora, how can you be so unreasonable and ungrateful? Haven't you been happy here?
No, never. I used to think I was, but I haven't ever been happy.
Not happy?
No, I've just had fun. You've always been very kind to me. But our home has never been anything but a playroom. I've been your doll wife, just as I used to be Papa's doll child. And the children have been my dolls. I used to think it was fun when you came in and played with me, just as they think it's fun when I go in and play games with them. That's all our marriage has been, Torvald.
There may be a little truth in what you say, though you exaggerate and romanticize, but from now on it'll be different. Playtime is over. Now the time has come for education,
Whose education? Mine or the children's?
both yours and the children's, my dearest Nora.
Oh, Torvald, you're not the man to educate me into being the right wife for you.
How can you say that?
And what about me? Am I fit to educate the children?
Nora!
Didn't you say so yourself a few minutes ago? That you dare not leave them in my charge?
In a moment of excitement? Sure you don't think I meant it seriously?
Yes. You were perfectly right. I'm not fitted to educate them. There's something else I must do first. I must educate myself. And you can't help me with that. It's something I must do by myself, and that's why I'm leaving you.
What did you say?
I must stand on my own feet if I'm to find out the truth about myself and about life. So I can't go on living here with you any longer.
Nora. Nora!
I'm leaving you. Now, at once. Christine will put me up for tonight.
You're out of your mind. You can't do this. I forbid you.
It's no use your trying to forbid me any more. I shall take with me nothing but what is mine. I don't want anything from you now or ever.
What kind of madness is this?
Tomorrow I shall go home. I mean, to where I was born. It'll be easiest for me to find some kind of job there.
But you're blind. You've got no experience of the world.
I must try to get some, Torvald.
But to leave your home, your husband, your children. Have you thought what people will say?
I can't help that. I only know that I must do this.
This is monstrous. Can you neglect your most sacred duties?
What do you call my most sacred duties?
Do I have to tell you? Your duties towards your husband and your children.
I have another duty which is equally sacred.
You have not. What on earth could be?
My duty towards myself.
First and foremost, you are a wife and a mother.
I don't believe that any longer. I believe that I am first and foremost a human being like you, or anyway, that I must try to become one. I know most people think as you do, Torvald, and I know there's something of the sort to be found in books, but I'm no longer prepared to accept what people say and what's written in books. I must think things out for myself and try to find my own answer.
Do you need to ask where your duty lies in your own home? Haven't you an infallible guide in such matters? Your religion.
Oh, Torvald, I don't really know what religion means.
What are you saying?
I only know what Pastor Hansen told me when I went to confirmation. He explained that what religion meant, and that when I get away from all this, I can think about that on my own. And that's one of the questions I want to look into. I want to find out whether what Pastor Hansen said was right, or anyway, whether it is right for me.
But it's unheard of for so young a woman to behave like this. If religion cannot guide you, let me at least appeal to your conscience. I presume you have some moral feelings left. Or perhaps you haven't. Well, answer me.
Oh, Torvald, this isn't an easy question to answer. I simply don't know. I don't know where I am in these matters. I only know that these things mean something quite different to me from what they do to you. I've learned now that certain laws are different from what I'd imagined them to be. But I can't accept that such laws can be right. Has a woman really not the right to spare her dying father pain or to save her husband's life? I can't believe that.
You're talking like a child. You don't understand how society works.
No, I don't. But now I intend to learn. I must try to satisfy myself which is right, society or I.
Nora, you're ill. You're feverish. I almost believe that you're out of your mind.
I've never felt so sane and so sure in my life.
You feel sure that it is right to leave your husband and your children?
Yes, I do.
Then there is only one possible explanation.
What?
That you don't love me any longer.
No, that's exactly it.
Nora! How can you say this to me?
Oh, Torvald, it hurts me terribly to have to say it because you've always been so kind to me, but I can't help it. I don't love you any longer.
And you feel quite sure about this too?
Yes, absolutely sure. That's why I can't go on living here any longer.
Can you also explain why I have lost your love?
Yes, I can. It happened this evening, when the miracle failed to happen. It was when I realised you weren't the man I thought you to be.
Explain more clearly? I don't understand you.
I've waited so patiently for 8 whole years. Well, good heavens, I'm not such a fool as to suppose that miracles occur every day. Then this dreadful thing happened to me, and then I knew. Now the miracle will take place. When Krogstad's letter was lying out there, it never occurred to me for a moment that you would let that man trample over you. I knew that you would say to him, "Publish the facts to the world." And when he had done this,
Yes. What then? When I'd exposed my wife's name to shame and scandal.
then I was certain that you would step forward and take all the blame on yourself and say, "I am the one who is guilty."
Nora.
You're thinking I would have accepted such a sacrifice from you. No, of course I wouldn't. But what would my word have counted for against yours? That was the miracle I was hoping for and dreading. And it was to prevent that happening that I wanted to end my life.
Nora. I would gladly work for you night and day and endure sorrow and hardship for your sake, but no man can be expected to sacrifice his honor, even for the person he loves.
Millions of women have done it.
Oh, you think and talk like a stupid child.
That may be. But you neither think nor talk like the man I could share my life with. Once you'd gotten over your fright, and you weren't frightened of what might threaten me, but only of what threatened you. Once the danger was past, then, as far as you were concerned, it was exactly as though nothing had happened. I was your little songbird, just as before. Your doll, whom henceforth you would take particular care to protect from the world, because she was so weak and fragile. Torvald, in that moment, I realised that for 8 years I had been living here with a complete stranger, and I had borne him 3 children. Oh, I can't bear to think of it. I could tear myself to pieces.
I see it. I see it. A gulf has indeed opened between us, but Nora, couldn't it be bridged?
As I am now, I am no wife for you.
I have the strength to change.
Perhaps if your doll is taken from you.
But to be parted from you, no, Nora, I can't conceive of it happening.
All the more necessary that it should happen.
Okay.
She comes back with her outdoor things and a small travelling bag, which she puts down on a chair by the table.
Nora, not now. Wait till tomorrow.
I can't spend the night in a strange man's house.
But can't we live here as brother and sister then?
You know quite well that wouldn't last. Goodbye, Torvald. I don't want to see the children. I know they're in better hands than mine, as I am now. I can be nothing to them.
But some time, Nora. Some time.
How can I tell? I've no idea what will happen to me.
You are my wife, both as you are and as you will be.
Listen, Torvald. When a wife leaves her husband's house, as I'm doing now, I'm told that according to the law, he is free of any obligations towards her. In any case, I release you from any such obligations. You mustn't feel bound to me by any way, however small, just as I shall not feel bound to you. We must both be quite free. Here is your ring back. Give me mine.
That too?
That too.
Here it is.
Good. Well, now it's over. I'll leave the keys here. The servants know about everything to do with the house, much better than I do. Tomorrow, when I have left town, Christine will come to pack the things I brought here from home. I'll have them sent on after me.
This is the end, then. Nora, will you never think of me anymore?
Yes, of course. I shall often think of you and the children and this house.
May I write to you, Nora?
No, never. You mustn't do that.
But at least you must let me send you...
Nothing. Nothing.
But if you should need help...
I tell you, no. I don't accept things from strangers.
Nora, can I never be anything but a stranger to you?
Oh, Torvald. Then the miracle of miracles would have to happen.
The miracle of miracles.
You and I would both have to change so much that... Oh, Torvald, I don't believe in miracles any longer.
But I want to believe in them. Tell me. We should have to change so much that...
That life together between us two could become a marriage. Goodbye.
She goes out through the hall.
Nora! Nora! Empty. She's gone. The miracle of miracles.